Hello, welcome back to another SwansCast podcast. Joined this week by Ben because Lee is very busy doing adult things. So welcome back, Ben, as always.
How are we? Okay.
Yeah, all good. It's a bit warm this week. Quite warm in this room, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, to do another podcast, of course. Been a decent start to the season. So I think the momentum from the summer and the good feeling is sort of carried on into the season. Not the perfect start, but I think comfortable enough. And they've shown a bit of a platform to build on. So, of course, we'll discuss that today. We've got 3 games to talk about. Opening game away at Middlesbrough. We've got the cup game against Crawley, which we'll touch on, and the win against Sheffield United as well. So those 3 games, a bit on the fans forum. We picked out a little bit of the highlights that we think are worth mentioning and some odd bits of transfer news or things that we think might be on the horizon in regards to players coming in. So let's just start on the performances then, Ben. So season opener against Middlesbrough, a bit of deja vu in more ways than one. What do you make of that performance, that result, and what you saw from Swansea?
Yeah, nasty opening game, wasn't it? Second year in a row, Borough away, the longest trip possibly in the EFL, if not the longest one of them, especially after Sunderland have swapped leagues. I mean, I predicted we'd lose. We did end up losing. It was one of those ones, exact same scoreline as last year, 1-0. Nothing game of football, really, wasn't it? Like normally, first game of the season, you expect, everyone's up for it. It was just a bit of a dead rubber. It felt like a last game of the season rather than the first. Probably should have been a 0-0 game, if we're being honest. It was a good delivery from the set piece, admittedly, is what decided it. Because to be fair, I don't think we defended the corner that we conceded particularly bad. Burgess, and I forget, but one other person was touch tight.
Might be Timon.
Might have been Timon. They were touch tight to the goal scorer, so I can't say shocking defending or anything. What I would say is we looked toughless going forward. That wasn't really a moment in the game where I thought, "Ooh, nearly scored." Maybe what was it, a long shot from Ronald? That was
like a half volley in the first half, didn't he? That looked quite tasty, but they're not exactly. You wouldn't class that as a good opportunity, would you? It would have been a bit of a worldy goal if they'd gone in.
Yeah, it was like hour into the game, nothing had happened. We made some subs. I think, if I'm honest, we could have played for another hour. I still don't think we would have scored. It just didn't look like we were really troubling them, and they were happy with the 1-0 lead.
Yeah.
If it stayed 0-0, maybe it would have been a bit more open. It would have been a bit more end-to-end, but as soon as they scored, I was like, oh, well, that'll be that.
The way that we didn't even fight any sort of comeback, like generally when you go 1-0 down and it's still quite tight towards the end of a match, you do start trying a few more risks and maybe having a few more shots from areas you wouldn't. But it didn't even look like we were doing that, if I'm totally honest. And not to criticise his early days, first game of the season, so 1-0 defeat, but it looked maybe like an extension to pre-season, I think would be a fair way to describe the game. For both teams, like you said, they scored. They scored from a corner. I'm quite confident to say they wouldn't have scored without the corner. I don't think they have any notable chances to talk about either. I think we were quite good defensively from open play. And I think that's a positive. And it was a positive the entire period over Alan Sheehan's caretaker spell when he first took charge, was shoring up the back line and having a platform to build on to go forward then, but making us a little bit more difficult to beat. And they celebrate the amount of clean sheets they've had since Alan Sheehan's been in charge. And yeah, it wasn't a clean sheet here, but I think in pre-season at times, maybe there was some question marks over some of the defending and some of the relationship between the midfield and the defense in the defensive situation. And I think maybe this game showed that it's actually not as bad as perhaps we were worried about. Overall, it's going to get better. There's a lot of new players in there that need to gel still. Cabango coming back is probably a big part of that.
And how fit was Cabango as well, because he didn't play in pre-season at all. He played 75 minutes, came off Keelan Casey in the 75th minute. I think even the way we set up, it was Fulton away from home, which is, that's where Fulton gets a lot of his game time. Franco and Galbraith were like number 8s ahead of them, but they weren't really used all that much in possession. A lot of the time we were, just sort of pumping the ball into the wide channels. Cullen was getting a bit lost. You like to see him drop in and getting on the ball with people running beyond him when doing so, but didn't really see much of that either. It was just one of those games where I think the game plan generally was keep it tight and hope that we were the ones winning 1-0 rather than vice versa. And it's a tough place to go, Borough, but this was a Borough side which aren't in, the sort of strong shape you'd normally expect to see them. That should be remembered. So it was disappointing. Luckily, we didn't do a pod straight after this game because I think it would have been a lot more dark and depressing. But there's been another 2 games, one in the league, one in the cup since then, which you can move on to now on the outlook.
Middlesbrough are sitting second as we record this right now, so you never know. Maybe they're better than what we're giving them credit for, and this result will come in a couple of weeks' time to look actually not quite that bad. Who knows?
I don't know. I think on the ball we looked awful. It's like, I'm not saying we look bad defensively, but I think if you go 90 minutes against anyone in this division without really threatening, which we did, then it's not a good reflection on you. But like you say, it could go 10 games in, they could be top 6, and then not that bad. But I think the mentality we have now, the optimism, the signings we've made, I don't think we'll look at a 1-0 loss against anyone necessarily and say, "Oh, we've done all right there," because I don't think that's allowable anymore.
I think you mentioned Felton starting away from home. I wonder if that might now change with one of the new signings who we obviously saw a bit of on the weekend. Yalkure, if I said his name correctly there.
I don't even know how you say his name correctly, if I'm honest, but I've been going Yalkure.
Yalkure.
That's about the best I can muster right now.
I was expecting Felton to start away from home. And I don't think he had a bad game. I just don't think he's the player that's there to get you forward momentum, is he? That's not what he's in the team to do. And if that's the criticism of the team playing, then I think that's why a lot of it gets directed his way. But then that's just Felton, isn't it? That's what you're going to get from him. And as he gets older, you're probably going to get an even more safe performance more and more every time he plays. So that's his job in the team. But I think now that we've had some additions in midfield and potentially more on the way, which we'll talk about a bit later on, I would imagine his game time is going to drop even further, even away from home now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's Yalkouye, who we'll get on to the Sheffield United game in a minute. Obviously, loan signing from Brighton, who all the Brighton fans are just a bit in shock that he's actually dropped down a division, which can only bode well for us. Did well, I would say, against Sheffield United, which we'll get on to later. But like you say, him joining, there's also Stamenic, who's a more like-for-like replacement for Fulton in my eyes. More of a 6'2" aerial CDM. So, like you say, Fulton's probably going to struggle for minutes. Same with Ollie Cooper. And yeah, in that game, Fulton, he isn't responsible for the loss, is he? But it's just not showing for the ball. And when he did have the ball, it wasn't always going forward. When he was going forward, it was loose. Nothing was really sticking, and that's unfortunately just not going to cut it anymore. Like I'm not trying to dig him out too much, but for players are suited to certain teams, certain ways of playing. Even though Alan Sheehan isn't like on paper the Swansea way, it's still not hoofball either. So I don't know. I don't think Fulton's going to see many minutes the rest of the season.
I agree with you. He's not going to see many minutes, but I do feel like he's been a bit of a scapegoat because even this whole narrative about not showing for the ball, like he's played, he played the most passes out of any of our midfield 3. So, I mean, surely that says something.
I think you just got to use the eye test on this one. And also,
yeah, I mean, you can use the eye test and say that,
yeah.
but that's a fact that he played more passes than the other 2 midfielders. That is a fact.
Take into account what direction did they go in? Were they appropriate? Like, there's a lot of times
that's a different conversation. Yeah, but if he's the deepest sitting midfielder, then is the criticism of him not playing the progressive passes fair? Or
I think so, because the deeper you are, the more people you got in front of you to play to.
I mean, fair enough, but I mean, it's the argument against Matt Grimes for all those years as well, isn't it? And my opinion is that role in the team isn't the role that is for getting assists and stuff like that. So
I'm not asking him to get assists. I also think the role Matt Grimes plays is just evidently different to what Fulton does.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's a replacement for Grimes. I'm just trying to say I don't think that's what you're ever going to get out of Fulton. And he's been put in the team to do a certain job. I wouldn't be blaming him for our lack of attacking momentum in any capacity. I think there's 2 other midfielders there. There's 2 wingers there that can have more of that responsibility for our lack of getting forward. Again, I just think he's a scapegoat.
He is a bit of a scapegoat. Again, I'm not trying to say like he should be the ones delivering balls into the box and being like our attacking creator. But if we forget Crawley, because that's a cup game, but look at Sheffield United, when we had that midfield 3, we were better on the ball and we were better off the ball. Bad team.
And I totally agree that he is not the best midfielder in the team, and he's probably one that shouldn't really start these days. I agree with all of that. I just don't agree with the way that we came out of that game, and he's the one that's getting targeted. That's all. I completely don't think he should be starting. With the squad we got now, he's like 5th choice, probably right now, and then soon to be 6th when the next one gets over the line. And I think that is correct. But I just don't think that it was fair to it was typical. We lost and he was in the squad, so that's all anyone was ever going to say. It didn't matter what happened. Felton was named on the team sheet to start the match, so he was going to get pinged at the end of the match, and that's what it's happened with a lot of players over the years. It happened with Kyle Norton the year we got relegated,
right?
And I just think it's the same sort of situation. Funnily enough, on SofaScore, he actually had the highest rating out of any of our upfield players, but I know
probably shows we shouldn't pay attention to SofaScore then, doesn't it?
Yeah, but again, I think I just disagree with the general narrative. But we'll move on from him there. Was there any other performances that you think are notable from the Middlesbrough performance before we move on?
I thought Ronald, it's more of a reflection on his season as a whole, but I thought he came out of it okay. I thought Galbraith, he was one of the better sparks, although we did struggle a bit more with the intensity in this game compared to some of the other two. And yeah, Burgess, I think he was trying to do it on his own half the time, if I'm honest. But yeah, probably those three.
Okay, so let's move on to Crawley was the next one, wasn't it? In the cup.
Yeah, and we won't spend too much time on it. It's a typical one, which is always nice to see in the League Cup. We tend to have a habit of drawing lower league opposition at home in the first round. It's a game you expect to win. I don't know if this was Crawley's strongest side or if they made many changes.
They're not doing very well in the league at the moment either.
No, it's a bad League Two side by all accounts. I think looking at our team, Casey was there, centre-back, making his debut, I think just purely because Cabango was injured, although you'd expect him to have played anyway. Fisher was in net for Viguru, and Viguru didn't even feature on the bench. It was Paul Farman, the third choice, having to go there. Key dropped down for Sam Parker. Vidal, Cooper and Galbraith made up the midfield three, which I doubt we'll see again this season now. But it was still Ronald, Inusa and Vipotnik also had a start. Timon was still at left back because who else would you play there? Good overall. Obviously, you expect it. You'd be concerned if this wasn't a complete performance, but Galbraith was in more of a number 6 role just because the opposition he's playing against, he can have that freedom. He looked immense. It's the truth.
Man of the match performance, I believe.
Yeah, him or Timon, but Galbraith, especially with the goal he scored, the goal disallowed, he was everywhere. He was starting moves, he was finishing them off. He was just brilliant. I'd say everyone who played came out of it with credit, maybe apart from Vipotnik and Vidal. Vidal, I think, will come good. I think there is evidently a player there. It's going to take some time for him to get up to speed with the league. Vipotnik, I'm a bit more concerned about, if I'm honest, because last season I thought about halfway into the season he was finally starting to come good. But he looked off it in this game. And I'm not on about that one chance where he threw himself at the ball across the face of goal and didn't get there. I just mean generally, like the centre-backs he was up against, he should have been bullying them. It's the truth of it. And
I'm just wondering if there's an issue behind the scenes there because Sheehan just hasn't trusted him this season. No, but, not even in pre-season.
No, I know, but he did come on against Borough. I'm not saying I expected him to pull up trees there because there wasn't much going on, but to start a game against that level of opposition and he didn't look like he was a championship striker. That's the sad truth of it. I think there's still a good player in there. I don't think it helps that Alan Sheehan's system clearly doesn't favour him. There's clearly a need for a number 9 who can have that blend of physicality and like pressing. You've got Cullen who can press but doesn't have the physicality. You've got Vipotnik who has the hold-up play but can't press. You need like a hybrid of the two in terms of like, games to suit Sheehan's game plan. Doesn't look like Vipotnik's going anywhere. I still want him to stick around the off as a different option, but I can understand why Cullen will be the striker who start in every game until another striker comes in through the door, which it looks like will happen at some point. Other notable performances, Ronald again. I know it's weak opposition, but look, he's looked good in every game. Probably one of the most consistent players so far. Casey, again, he's played England under 20 football. He was expecting to do well against his opposition, but he looked comfortable on the ball. He looked comfortable in defensive duels. And obviously, Burgess and Timon, you always expect to do well. Parker, though, was one for me. At right back, I think we talked about this before about our depth at full back. We don't have anything at left back right now. But this is the first time I remember seeing Parker play in a back 4 and take it with a pinch of salt because this isn't the correct level of opposition, as we've said, but he looked really good going forward. He looked comfortable defensively. So maybe we have more depth at right back, at least, than we anticipated. He could push Key, got to give him some competition in some shape or form. And obviously then Bobby Wales came off the bench and scored pretty quickly after coming on as well. So that was nice to see. Looks like he's actually pretty good with flick-ons and things. With 19, you see some 19-year-old strikers play sometimes. You're like, oh, they're going to need a couple of years to, put some muscle on, get used to playing against grown men. But he looks ready physicality-wise. It's just getting used to the speed of it.
And he actually came off the bench against Sheffield United ahead of Vipotnik as well. So I don't know if that says anything.
Seconds, but yeah.
No,
maybe
I know.
To get like a league appearance.
Yeah, I mean, he looks all right in terms of young strikers that we've signed recently. Carl Joseph being one from recent memory.
Yeah.
Maybe this one will be a little bit more, like there'll be more substance there, and he can play in the wing as well, can he? So, not that I think he will be there regular, but it just gives options.
It's
I would like
to
to see more
from him.
Yeah.
300K,
I'd like to see more from Vipotnik as well. I wonder if the fact that he hasn't been trusted to be that starting striker has knocked him a bit. I don't know if he's like. We said last season he looked not up to speed at the beginning, but we kind of put that down to Euros.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what his excuse can be this time round, but if it looks the same.
Maybe he thought he was on the way out and now he's not. Like there were links to Saudi for a little while since January. How true any of it was, I don't know. Don't rule him out him going, I suppose. Just because there's no rumours of him going doesn't mean he won't. You see that there's a few signings we've made, like Burgess in particular, came out of nowhere. The same can happen with exits as happened with Choa Kuharevich. There were no links. They just got announced as being gone. But the fact he's continuously featuring in squad says, that there's nothing imminent, at least.
I think if we get this new striker that they're talking about, which nobody knows who it is, let's be honest, maybe then we might see him go.
Because then you've got Bobby Wales, Cullen, and the new guy, haven't you?
Yeah, I think you'd be happy with Wales as a third choice because it's between Vipotnik probably and Wales to be third choice if there's four of them. I
was going to say the only thing four strikers gives you is the ability to play with two, although Sheehan doesn't like
mixing up systems. When was the last time they were both on the pitch against Middlesbrough, but Cullen can drop, can he?
What they've been doing a lot is pressing with two, and it's usually been Galbraith in the Sheffield United game, as we'll get on to. It was Yalkuye at the beginning, at least, joining them up front when the goalkeeper had the ball to press. If you had two strikers, you could just do it with them, but Vipotnik's not like that. It's the issue. Wales
I just can't see him starting a game if Cullen's up front. Is he going to have the three of them on the bench?
This is the thing, because in terms of the number 10 role, there isn't always a number 10 for a start. When there was, or when there is, you'd expect it to be Vidal, if anyone. Also, we've seen Yalkuye, do well in those advanced positions. Galbraith do well in those advanced positions. Cooper, even though I don't expect him to play much now. So Will Cullen
as well.
Yeah. Although you'd expect him to be wide with the lack of wide options in comparison to what we got in the middle. But point being, would you expect to see Cullen at number 10? Because everyone loves Cullen at number 10, but the truth is they see him in that position of the field, although he is still playing up front. The reason he's received the ball in the number 10 position is because he started at number 9 next to a centre-back, dropped off, and because a winger was probably making a run beyond at the same time, the defender had a decision to make, so had to let Cullen go. And that's why he's in space in the number 10 position. If he started there, he's not necessarily going to be picking up the ball in space like he normally does. So there's a bit of a conundrum with Cullen, because I think he does best at number 9 when dropping off. But then you don't really want him starting at number 9 if we sign some, top half, top 6 even, striker, presumably.
Yeah, and we don't really know who that is either.
No, have to wait and judge when we actually see him.
Yeah. Ollie Cooper obviously started this game. Do you think with the signing of Staminik, who is imminent, do you think maybe Ollie Cooper's days are numbered?
Yeah, I mean, Staminik be CDM for Forest, obviously. Number 6 position, so more like Fulton than Cooper. But like you say, obviously, we've had Yalkuye on loan. We've had Galbraith come in. Vidal can also play the number 8 position. Franco's already there. So there's loads of bodies ahead of him in that number 8 position, which Cooper would probably most likely play this season. If he was going to play at number 10, then it would have happened last year when we had nobody. Cooper, Wales at least is playing at 8, so maybe that's what they're thinking, trying him there, but he's not getting past Galbraith, he's not getting past Franco, he's not getting past Yalkuye. So he is down the pecking order. I think the rumours are he'd be the most likely one to leave. Then maybe Fulton would be back up to Staminik for that sort of role, which makes sense. You've got like 2 of every type of midfielder there almost then, haven't you?
Yeah, and you're going to get a fee for Cooper, whereas you're probably not going to get much for Fulton. He's out of contract in the summer anyway.
I don't think Fulton would go anyway, because I don't know exactly what he's on every week, but I think there's been quite a few links to Fulton every window, but then his wages always put people off. He got quite a nice contract when Steve Cooper was here and we were pushing top 6. So I don't blame him for running that down.
He's had an extension since then, though.
Has he?
Yeah, he had one under Russell Martin.
Oh, well, I don't know then. Whatever the wages are, people clearly aren't willing to pay it, because I think if it could even be one like we'd be willing to let him go on a free, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you got those sort of wages there and he's not really featuring, you think he would have gone by now. Although we did play against Borough, so I don't know. It's one of them, and it's important to have characters in the squad as well. Like, that's the underrated thing with him, is that he's been the one constant this entire time. Every manager's been coming and going. Like, if you just look at the Sheffield United squad now, as we move on to that, look at the team in terms of players who have been there. Cullen came through the academy. Cabango came through the academy. Then you got Fulton on the bench.
Fulton's the longest serving in the squad now.
Oh, by far, yeah. I mean, Grimes has gone. Fulton's been there a decade, hasn't he? I want to say he's got some stupid record going. Like, I think he's top 5 or top 3 even longest serving players in the Championship now. Which doesn't surprise me. Yeah, because how many people have been there more than 10 years at their clubs, isn't it?
Is it just Championship or at the club?
I think in the Championship, so like at their clubs in the Championship, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, 10 years is quite some time. I mean, clubs have been there for that long.
Oh, no, so like they can move up and down divisions.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you know, we haven't been in the Championship 10 years, have we?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, 2023 he signed his new contract. I don't know how correct this is, but Google's telling me he's on a 4-year contract worth 1.2 million. So I don't know how that works out on a weekly wage.
Well, 1.2 million over
312 grand a year, so it's probably not too far off, is it? It's on like 20-30 grand a week or something.
No, that would be 6k a week.
Yeah.
So Doughty's on that. He's probably on more.
This is in dollars. Don't know if that makes much difference.
That's
average annual salary. Oh, hang on. I read it wrong. That's the average salary it's saying of Swansea. But I don't know where they got that from. It's probably a load of rubbish.
AI probably.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
but
maybe it's
Sheffield United, if we just want to move on to that same time. So
Sheffield, any notable things from that game?
So we're probably looking pretty much our strongest team. The only one that's debatable was Anusa was on the bench ahead of or behind Om.
I think he's still coming back he's regaining his fitness, isn't he?
Yeah, he's on managed minutes, so is Om. So they're sort of interchanging, and you expect them to interchange the whole season because they both have a lot to offer to the squad. For Potnick, obviously drop back to the bench. Cullen started. The most notable one was obviously Yalkuye, made his debut after signing from Brighton. Started, hard to really pinpoint where he played because it was all quite fluid. It was a midfield 3 of Franco, Galbraith, and Yalkuye. Franco was sort of fixed in the number 8 position, but then Galbraith and Yalkuye were sort of all over the place. Galbraith would be 6 sometimes, Yalkuye would be 10 sometimes. Sometimes Yalkuye was dropping all the way back to just in front of the defence. So it was nice to see a lot of fluidity. And it really did help in terms of building a play and pressing off the ball. The 3 of them were immense. You expected it, don't get me wrong, because they all got a burst of speed. They're all quite aggressive in the tackle. But we controlled the game on the ball. We controlled the game off the ball. We didn't create a multitude of chances, but I think 1-0 flattered Sheffield United more than it flattered us. Maybe 2-0 could have easily been if we were a bit more clinical. It was one of those games, I think everyone sat around me, come away with the same feeling. If we had a top Championship striker there, not even Perot level, but somebody who's capable of hitting 20, even if he doesn't hit 20, someone who's capable of doing that. Some of the chances Timon was making, like you know over time when he puts balls into the box and our strikers and our midfielders, they sort of lunge at it, but they always miss. Having somebody who knows where to stand, knows what runs to make, has that clinical instinct, it is going to help us so much. I feel like it would have been a lot more comfortable if we had a more recognised goal scorer there. But other than that, I mean, the major talking point for me defensively, Sheffield United didn't have a shot on goal the whole game. Faguru didn't.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Which is insane, to be quite honest, because they had Louis Barry, they had Gustavo Hamer being the main one, Callum O'Hare, Tyrese Campbell, you had Tom Cannon coming off the bench. They're a weakened side compared to last year, don't get me wrong. But to limit that sort of attack to such little chances was very impressive. I'd say, well, there were water breaks which broke the game up a bit, is worth mentioning. Obviously because of the hot weather, and they were in between the start of the half and the end of the half, so they almost like became quarters, like a American football game, if you will. We started like a house on fire, first 22.5 minutes or whatever it was before the water break, calmed down a bit after that. And I think it was in that sort of spell where Louis Barry was their biggest threat, and that was the most we looked threatened the whole game. He was on Sheffield United's left wing and was running at Key, and he did have the beating of Key. Like, as much as Key does offer some benefits going forward, he can get caught out in 1v1 duels. He was just chucking it down Key's right side, Louis Barry's left side, going around him with ease. It's just the cutbacks weren't of much quality. We packed the box. Cabango and Burgess knew exactly what they were doing there. They were like enforcers. And Sheffield United never really looked, even in those final third situations, like they were going to get a shot off, which was surprising. The goal came the 66th minute. Ronald, it was a good sweep-in move, I would say, to be honest. We got into like a 4 versus 3 situation. Enusa off the bench, he won't get the assist, but on paper he did in my eyes. It was a first time cut back into the box, which is what we were looking for, a little bit of a more deft touch, which we were lacking. Somebody just to lay it on the plate straight away. Cullen, mucked up the shot a bit, broke kindly for Ronald, but I feel like we deserved that luck. We had been all over them. It would have been an injustice not to have taken the lead.
Still a good finish by Ronald, though. He placed it to the bottom corner from outside the box, didn't he?
Well, we thought we'd missed. I think what it is he obviously curled it. Nearly started outside the post, and came back in. So it was a, I don't want to say out of character. It sounds harsh. We don't expect that sort of technique from Ronald.
Yeah, he's not usually the most composed when he's taking a shot.
Normally, he just sort of takes his time, cuts. But there was one where we should have taken the lead early on. I think we were 4-on-3, 3-on-2. Yalkuye managed to, I think, win the ball back himself, and he just knocked it past the right back. He had acres of space to run into behind the defence. Started on the left wing and came into the box. Probably should have played it across earlier to Ronald, opted to try curl it into the far post instead, and it got blocked. Broke out to Ronald. He really just needed to either take a touch and then hit it, or hit it first time and just blast in the near post. But he hesitated, then he cut it back on his left foot, and by then there were 3 bodies in front of him. And that's where his decision making could go wrong sometimes.
I think Yalkuye was fuming with him as well for not passing it back.
Yeah. So, and don't get me wrong, this will come with time. Yalkuye had only known them all for 4 or 5 days. He hadn't been training with them long. And he's a player that you'd expect to play the vast majority of weeks. It'll be interesting to see what our midfield looks like week in, week out, though, now. Because I do think this midfield 3, I was thinking there's not a lot of height there. Will they get bullied? They were the ones bullying them. Whether that'll be the same week to week, I don't know. But they were so intense on and off the ball. Then you have Vidal coming on for, I think it was Yalkuye. And Enusa came on the same time. We literally brought on £9 million or so worth of subs. It's crazy. Then you got Stamenic, who you expect to play most away games, I think. For me, that's the point of him. Away games, we're going to look different to home games, aren't we? We're going to be battling a lot more up against it. You need that sort of midfielder there. And I wouldn't be surprised if the 3 I've just mentioned, Yalkuye, Franco, Galbraith, just taking turns dropping out. Because it's a 46-game season. That's about cup games. You can't expect them to be... Franco especially, we could choose when to rest him. Certain games will suit him more than others. Whereas last year, we were all annoyed when he wasn't playing because we didn't look like winning the game if he wasn't playing, did we? Now we got these options.
And he was getting subbed. He wasn't doing 90 minutes, which he seems to be doing at the moment.
Yeah. I think the only issue depth-wise now, like we said, fullback, Parker, I think will, not necessarily replace Key
at any point. Galbraith and Parker that can play on the right. It's the left that's an issue.
Again, though, now
you don't want Galbraith there.
No, yeah, which I think
just saying
everyone says that.
Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, you can play there. I don't think I've ever been of the opinion I want him there. I'm just saying now, if Key were to get injured, I'd have no problem Parker going in there rather than Galbraith. Tymon's the one who I'd love him to play 90 minutes every single week. It's just not feasible. There's going to be injuries at some point, suspensions, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturdays. So hopefully there's rumours of a loan, us looking at a loan at least at left back comes to fruition.
I wonder who we'd put there,
now
based on the bench there, if he got injured in that match. Sure, I think he put Sam Parker there, or Key would move over.
Parker right back, Key left back would be my guess, because I don't even think Enusa doesn't look like somebody who played wing back and switched to a back.
Ronald's done wing back before.
Yeah, it didn't look great, did it?
No.
But but our centre-back recovered now. Casey's currently the one backup, but you'll have Santos coming back as a left-sided option soon. Midfield was stacked. You got Fisher, who, as far as backup keepers go, he's good if he does stay. But not somebody you'd want as number one, but I don't find me many backup keepers better than him in the league. I don't know how many there'll be, but he's not going to be one of the worst ones by any means. And then on the wings, we got 3 quality wingers right now. I'd say Ronald started a lot better than I expected. Omna and Nooster, I think, both have a lot of quality. And, well, Cader Gordon, as you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned before the pod or just when we started, from Liverpool, would be linked with on loan on the right wing. So maybe a lone winger coming in there. I'm a bit disappointed at that because I think Congreve as backup, if you're not going to give him that chance now, when are you going to give him that chance?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's plenty within our youth to trust with coming on if you need someone. With the players even on the bench, right? If Ronald had to go off, there's one sub they didn't use. So that you've got Cooper and Parker on the bench there. Does bringing in, what's his name? Gordon?
Yeah.
It's bringing in Gordon, does that improve that situation? Or I know we're on about Ollie Cooper potentially even going.
Yeah.
But
for me, though, how's Congreve not getting on that bench?
Yeah, if Congreve's not, but I'm just on about who's on this bench now. You've got Congreve there, and you've even got Gavia was coming on regular not so long ago, right, in the right. And I know he's kind of disappeared a little bit at the moment. You've got Kyril Wilson waiting in the wings, who's another one that we could give the opportunity to. But in terms of who is on the bench, Cooper might not be the flavour of the month at the moment. But surely if you're going to bring in a Liverpool youngster who, by all accounts, didn't have the best season in the Championship last year, doesn't make the utmost sense there. And I'd even put Parker, he's played plenty of games right wing as well. So why was he just not go into that position?
I do think he's a wing back or full back now more than a winger, mind. When I've seen him as a winger, and we haven't tried.
But I just mean in the absence of Ronald again, rather than bringing in just for the depth. I think there's enough depth there that we could develop and benefit over time. I'd rather than money go somewhere else like left back, which I'm sure they're looking at anyway.
Yeah.
It's like you mentioned, 3 players potentially coming in.
Yeah, it's like we'll touch on that a second. Just to finish this off, though, like you say, you got Congreve, you got Gavea, you got Wilson. Not necessarily going to come in and be championship ready, but you look at our youth team, it's not the most strong. It's not particularly strong right now. That was made evident when we had one centre back and we really didn't have any notable options who could come in and step up and do a championship level job. Midfield even, not that they're needed, but there isn't much there. But right wing is where we are stacked in comparison. Congreve being the main one. Even Joel Cotterill, even though I don't think he's featuring as much as Congreve, can drift out wide to the right. Wilson and Gavea a little bit younger and more inexperienced, but still there as well. So if you're not going to give somebody not even the opportunity to be a starter, but a backup to 3 other wingers right now, then I think that's hard done by that. We were talking about how we want to go out and sign people with fees under 21s and develop them that way. But you have got to try and utilize what we've got right now in that sense as well. And Congreve,
when they're going to get a chance otherwise, they're on about in the fans forum, the academy and upgrading it and stuff. Well, no point investing it if they're not going to get on the pitch.
Because there's talks of extending his contract, Congreve. He's only got, I think,
apparently they're in discussions now.
Which is good and all, but he's 21 now?
1, I think.
So he should be, after a full season in League 2 and an opening in the squad, this should be the time they want to push him in. So it's worrying to me he hasn't made the bench, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll just talk
maybe
too much
rotate in. Even Cullen can go to the right if we needed him to. I just don't know if we need to bring someone else. It just feels like it's going to be another Sago Jr. Sort of just there. Not really any point to it, but we'll see. It might not even happen. Talking about transfers, then we've mentioned him a few times. So Swansea looking at signing Nottingham Forest midfielder Stamenic. This has been rumoured for a few days now, been reported at several notable places. I'm pretty sure Alan Sheehan was kind of talking of him after the match, or has been since the match. basically as a Swansea player, even though it's not announced. If you read into the words he's been using,
it's done. It is done.
Yeah, he's had his medical a few days ago, by all accounts. Just I'm not sure what needs to happen for it to be announced. But knowing the way things work on this podcast, it's probably been announced while we're recording. So, or at least before the episode goes live. So, like, we're recording this on Tuesday the 19th in the evening. Probably not going to get it out before I finish work tomorrow. So that means it's announced tomorrow.
Yeah. 100%.
So if you're listening to this now, you've probably seen it already on your phone. Because that's literally what it happened with the one we did earlier this season with something. One of the players we signed.
Could it
Can you remember who?
Not Yalkuye, or you going
Or it
back?
might have been Snoop Dogg. Was it Snoop Dogg we were recording and he got announced? I don't know. It was something like that.
Possibly, yeah.
It happens all the time. But regardless, he looks like joining, and you seem to think it's a bit of a significant fee.
Well, I've heard it's around potentially 2.5 million, 3 million, rising to 4. We'll see what actually comes out. The thing is, they paid, right, Nottingham Forest, just to explain what's happened. They paid 5.5 million euros for him a year ago, loaned him to Olympiacos, who Nottingham Forest owner also owns. They owns both clubs. So really, it was a sign of Olympiacos, but just signed through Forest, probably to get through some financial rules or whatever. And he played, I think it was like 20-something times for Olympiacos. It's not bad. It was a good team. They were playing in Europe. He played 4 games in the Europa League, even though there weren't many minutes. So he was in and around the squad. And now they're selling him a year later. So clearly not a sign of the Forest, the level they're at. I don't think he was ever going to be a Premier League player for them. But he's still played at a high level in Greece. And
New Zealand international as well.
Yeah. And I don't know how much that's saying New Zealand, because they're not much of a, force in the international scene, are they? But even saying that, I can't see how Nottingham Forest would pay 5.5 million euro for him a year ago, and his value would plummet significantly in that time, especially after he's been playing for Olympiacos. So I'd be shocked if it's under like 2 mil, put it that way.
Yeah, and to be honest, it makes sense, because from what I was reading, it was a case of like he was on the list, the same list that Lewis O'Brien was on, and Lewis O'Brien was just out of reach in terms of the fee that we would have had to pay for him. This looks like a bit less, but maybe the same. It's obviously the same target pool for what they're looking at here. So
different player to Lewis O'Brien. Possibly his wages are a bit lower. I mean, I think we were linked ages ago. It's one of those rare ones this summer where most of the signings we've made have sort of just come out of nowhere and happened quite quickly after. But Yalkuye and Stamenic, actually, they were linked a while back. It went quiet and then sort of rose up again. Stamenic, I think, was first mentioned, go back about 3 weeks ago, and that was meant to have been a loan. That turned into a permanent, so something's clearly became possible that we weren't expecting. Whether that's not the Forest lowered their demands, or I don't know, like maybe we missed out on another target and reallocated funding. I'm really not sure, but it looks like a good sign. And even if he's not your typical Swansea City midfielder, he's probably a midfielder we need. There'll be times to use him and times not to use him. But he does look like a bit of an aerial monster, which I keep saying away from home, because it is true. Away from home, you're going to have to deal with, sometimes more direct football, not having the ball as much and having to deal with crosses. You do need that sort of physical CDM. And as much as I think Yalkuye has been brilliant, well, he looks like he'll be brilliant. Galbraith's been brilliant so far. They're quite small. They're not going to be able to hold up with that type of physicality so much. So it gives you more options. And, it's the first time I can really remember saying now, looking at that squad against Sheffield United in particular, starting 11 looks good. The bench looks stacked, and there's more to come. So there's really no excuses this season now for me. I'm not saying we need to finish top 6, but we really shouldn't be struggling with what we've got either. Because I think, especially, in a couple of weeks when the window slams shut, we're going to have 2 bodies in most, if not all, positions.
Yeah, he's played 31 times for New Zealand, and by all accounts, BBC reporting he was 23 times in the Greek top flight. I know you had a look, and it was in all competitions, maybe, but they're saying in the top
playoff,
flight,
there was a cup, there was Europa League. So I don't know how Greece works, to be honest, what level of competitions they all were, but he was still playing. He wasn't frozen out.
Yeah, fair enough. Any other links we wanted to mention? Don't think there was anything notable, was there? There's just a lot of noise that isn't probably real.
You mentioned from the fans forum about like how many luck going to get in. This fans forum took place after Yalkuye was public knowledge but wasn't announced yet. Stamenic wasn't public knowledge yet, and they said we're hoping to get 4 more in. So that one of them would be Stamenic. So they're still looking for 3 more even after that. Some
So you say striker?
Permanent striker, and then presumably a lone left back and a lone winger. That would be my best guess.
Yeah, it looks like yes, that would add up with what we've heard so far. It's just the left back that's the one that's been elusive, yeah.
And the loans always come in at the end. That's why Alcuye suddenly happened now. The loans become available at the end of the window after pre-season's finished. The clubs have had a look at them, which is why what's confusing about Stamenic, to be honest, because I would have thought that dragged on till now without every party thinking that a loan would happen, but maybe he just refused a loan and said, I want a permanent home. I don't know.
Forest signed like 5 players last week, didn't they? Maybe that's why.
Maybe
I'd imagine he was never on the agenda to perhaps feature, but it was one of them where if they don't get things over the line, he would have stayed in the squad. But when they get the numbers they wanted, then he gets moved on. But they need to get people in first, probably. Okay, so moving on, we'll have a bit of a brief discussion on the fans forum. I've picked up some notable bits. You can sort of tell me afterwards then if there's anything I missed that you wanted to discuss. We'll go from there. So I've highlighted some of the bits that Wales Online highlighted, to be fair. If you want to watch the full fans forum, it is available on YouTube. There's a link to it on the club news on the official site. I think it's like an hour long, so it's a bit of a watch, but very good by all accounts. I think Gorange speaks very well, and Montague. That's right, isn't it? Montague.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously Sheehan was there as well. First of all, then, so they mentioned about travel to away matches. They basically said they're reviewing something. There's a company in Carmarthen they're looking at using, and I think they're going to be trialing something for the Birmingham away game, which is upcoming.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine it will be a case of seeing how that goes, and maybe there'll be some more information afterwards. But some of the reasoning around what's going on at the moment, just stating how there's a lot of fans that travel a long way because of the distance Swansea have to travel, which we all know that. And as a result of that, it does make it expensive. And I'd imagine these days, cost of living and all that, and fuel, which I'd imagine is probably going to get worse again very soon from what it looks like out there. It probably makes it difficult. Not trying to defend them or anything, but I guess that's the reality of the situation. So they're saying they just want to make it more affordable. So they don't want to offer something that's a bit not good bang for your buck, I guess, which is why they've taken the old deal away. So yeah, they've acknowledged the previous model didn't work very well, and they're looking into what they can do differently. So I guess it's just time will tell on that one. Was there anything I missed there?
On the did you just mention the pickup locations?
No, I didn't mention that.
So obviously it's starting in Carmarthen, you said, right?
Yeah, that's where the company is based, so that's probably why.
I want to say the 3 locations I saw for pickup were Carmarthen, and then more specifically,
Llanelli and
I know Llanelli is Carmarthen, right? But yeah, deeper into Carmarthen.
Yeah.
Carmarthenshire, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might offend some people if you call it at the same time.
Honestly, I should know that. But anyway, deeper into Carmarthen, then Llanelli, and then Swansea. But then notably, just from experience being on those the old bus travels, they pick up in Bridgend, they pick up in Port Talbot, they pick up in Neath. Maybe there was just a misleading or inaccurate or undetailed.
Maybe there's some details still to be announced, isn't it?
But I don't know. I think a lot of fans are they're going to be in Llanelli and Carmarthen as well, don't get me wrong, but you're missing out a lot of people in Neath, Port Talbot, Bridgend. Maybe Neath.
I think Neath, Port Talbot especially. I think Bridgend is like
more Cardiff.
It's just getting into enemy wars when you get.
But still, like maybe you expect people from Neath, Port Talbot to drive to Liberty. But I just don't like the idea of people having to drive back on themselves to get.
I guess it's all about the efficiency and the cost, isn't it? If the bus is already coming from where the company is based in Carmarthen, maybe that's the reasoning for the pickups that side of Swansea, and part of the reason for no pickups after that is a cost-saving exercise potentially, and the travel distance thing.
Yeah, I can understand the need for bus travel coming from Llanelli and Carmarthen. Don't get me wrong, because it's obviously further away. I don't know. I don't like the idea of people driving back.
I think it's just. I genuinely think it's just a coincidence because of where the bus potentially is going to be leaving from.
Yeah,
I think if it's a Swansea-based bus company, I'm not sure they go Llanelli and Carmarthen.
Yeah.
Basically, I think it's just one of them. That's where it's coming from. It's already on the way, so that's why. And I'd imagine they'll pitch it like, we need to leave Swansea at this time to get to this place. So anyone else that's coming from these areas, like, unfortunately, you've got to get up even earlier. Do you know what I mean? So, like,
it means less stops on the way from Swansea, on it.
Yeah.
Presuming they'd leave at a similar time anyway. And also it looked good, family friendly, no alcohol, all that's the stuff you like to see, because, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a grown man, but even I don't like the buses where they're all just sneaking vodka on, making it look like lemonade and water and things. It's just like, it's just a drinking exercise for some people. I understand you're allowed to drink, like, but can you just wait until you get there, honestly? Just makes
and it makes the toilet situation horrendous as well, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I know me and you, Luke, went to QPR away on the bus, but that was free, and it wasn't particularly bad. But I much prefer the car. You got your own company where you can just sort of chat freely. It's just not workable. You
don't sweat to death either in the back when the driver forgets the heating is on.
Yeah, it's just not workable sometimes, is it? Like, if you can probably count on one hand how many games we have in the league this season that are like nice to drive, like Coventry, Birmingham, Oxford, Bristol City.
It's difficult. You pick one or two, I think, and that's you done, and it's hard.
Wrexham, loads of people will do purely because it's Wrexham, but that's not a nice drive either. That's 3.5 hours on shocking roads. So
yeah. Okay, so we've already mentioned this kind of, but question on Tymon and Key having new contracts. Obviously, we didn't mention actually, they've had an extension triggered. So they were due to expire technically next summer, but they had a +1 year extension clause in their contract, which has been triggered by the club. So they have 2 years now. And they were asked basically if there's any conversations around renewing. I think the Harry Darlin situation is one to highlight here. It's all well and good you've triggered that extension, but that doesn't mean another year off talking, because otherwise you're into that situation again. So it does look like they're going to be looking at those two new contracts and extension talks at some point this season. Not really any detail to discuss here, but it was an acknowledgement that is something they're looking at.
A good thing to note, though, is usually with these 1 year extensions, obviously we'll never know this for sure, but quite often they come with a small wage increase for the player, just so they're not...
Keeps them happy.
Yeah, it keeps them happy. So the fact we triggered them this early, presuming there is a small wage increase for both of them, it's just a sign that we've looked to keep them happy. Because I know there's been times in the past where, like, Patterson's had he's had it triggered, his wage didn't go up. And
it was Cullen as well, wasn't it, for ages? He was after a new deal, and we were like, you got plenty of time, mate.
You know, $3,500 a week or whatever it was, like, as you contract.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tymon in particular, I think he would sign on. I don't know if Tymon will. I just get the feeling that he knows there's going to be bigger offers out there.
He's the one that's had links, though, to be fair.
Is that because he was more gettable, as in, like, we'd be more inclined to sell him? Because Tymon's the better fallback, isn't he? Let's be real.
Yeah, Tymon's the one that's currently more polished. I think the Key is still a question mark in some regard. I think some people think he can get to a level that he's not currently showing. But I think for me, I've seen enough of him to think he's not guaranteed to get to that level. He might have it in him, but I think he's also got I don't think he's bad at all, but I think he's one of those players that we could probably sign the player at right back that pushes him out of the team, even by accident. I like Key, but I think he's had a couple of seasons now and he's still making certain mistakes that he was making from the beginning. And you just wonder, can he ever get rid of that in his game? As much as he's got a lot of good about him, when you get to the serious end of the Championship, that can cost you. And I think that might be what holds him back in his career. Maybe he's got to the level where that's going to be where he is now. But we'll see. I hope he can prove me wrong.
Whereas Tymon, I've been sweating because Leif Davis at Ipswich, for example, has been linked to a move away. I think it was to Leeds in the Prem. And I was just thinking, Christ, he's ready-made for them, isn't he? If, like, that sort of team needed a left-back.
We've had a luxury of left-backs recently in terms of, like, assisting. Bidwell, remember Bidwell and Roberts? They were, like, the best two full-backs in the league last season. And then Manning come in when he kind of displaced Bidwell and took over and arguably did better. And now Tymon's come in, and we were a bit nervous at the beginning because Stoke was telling us that he can't defend. And to be fair, sometimes he can't. But
well, he's improved loads. I was going to mention that. A flat back for Michael Duffy looked terrible because of the way he was being asked to defend, the way he was being asked to distribute the ball when he got it. But in a flat back 4 now, where the winger is always asked for us to track back and help him in those 2v2 situations in particular, often the defence and midfield is set up to cover the space he leaves in behind when he goes forward as well. He looks a different player, though, even in those 1v1 defensive situations now compared to what he was when he came in. And I think that's the issue now is, I don't know what wage he's on. Presumably it's not cheap if we paid, I think it was nearly 3 million for him when he had a year in his deal. So it was a decent sized transfer fee even at the time. But if you were to say now, he had 4 years in his deal, for example, 3 years even, what would his transfer value be? Isn't he, 26, I think?
Yeah, he's mid-20s somewhere.
So I don't know what his transfer value would be. I always find it difficult to estimate fullbacks, but I'd be saying easily 7-8 mil. Honestly,
got to be at least 5 in here, and then you're looking up.
Years in his deal. I think also we haven't really seen his attacking contributions play out like they should. I think if he had attackers, because it's not just the strikers, it's the wingers with the goal scoring output or lack of, I should say as well. If he was in like an Ipswich, I know I'm just using that as an example.
He'd be getting a lot more assists, yeah.
Goals even, you know.
Yeah.
I think he goes under the radar because of our lack of goals.
Yeah.
But if he had better players around him, like I just said, then that wouldn't be the case.
Let's hope he keeps going under the radar. But that's one I think, if they can get at least him done before Christmas, I think that would be a good bit of work. I'd imagine stuff like that will be a bit more involved after the transfer window closes.
Yeah, it's our best chance now of getting him tied on because it's the most optimistic the club's been for a while now. So this is the time, if you've got the budget to tie these people down, because this is the issue we had with Darling. One bad month and he went from wanting to sign to couldn't wait to get out of here.
Yeah. So they spoke about going towards regaining Category 1 academy status and aligning the recruitment strategy within that. I think they were just doubling down on the fact that they want to be investing in youth. That's going to break through, which I just want to see it. I want to see that happening a little bit more. It's good that they're speaking about it. Let's see a couple more years and see if it does happen. But we already had a big discussion about the winger situation there. So wait and see on that one. But that's what their goal is here. So they, what did they actually say about Category 1? Because I've missed the actual quote from that.
There's a long-term aim more about the recruitment. There's a long-term aim to get back up to Category 1 status. For anyone who doesn't know, basically, when we were in the Premier League, we had Category 1 status. That's when we had the super team of McBurney, Roden, Roberts, Byers.
Yeah, that's what saved us when we got relegated, ultimately.
Yeah, Corney Baker Richardson, Kean Harries, and I'm sure I'm missing some in there as well. Cabango, I think, was in the latter end of it. But basically, what that basically meant is like £5 million a year to run the academy, but you get to play in the Premier League, Developmental League, or whatever it's called now, Premier League 2. You're playing the best teams. I think we won the league in the last season when we went down, and we're challenging for like the Champions Cup or whatever they called it. So we had a stupidly good team. And what that meant, like you say, is we came down, we had a fire sale, and we had all these youth players coming in. If they weren't there, then we could have got double relegated, let's be honest. We would have had no squad. But since then, now our academy status got downgraded. I don't know if it's Category 2 or Category 3.
It's 2 at the moment.
It's 2 at the moment. I think it may have gone down to 3 at one point. I'm not sure. Or at least they were looking at it when Trevor Birch was there. I know that much. But I'm not sure what the differences are in terms of 2, 3.
It's quite expensive to go up to 1. That I know that. It's all to do with the number of staff as well, isn't it? So like, it's not just about the paying for the infrastructure. There's a lot of wages involved in it.
But the key point is, in terms of financial fair play or whatever it's called nowadays, that's measured on transfer activity. If you invest in youth academy and anything else that's not transfer related, those losses, which they would be losses, they don't contribute to those financial rules. So that's why they're looking at
the SSP.
Yeah.
And I guess then if you bring someone through that system, that's complete profit then against your SSP.
Well, exactly, because like a good example now is, who is it? Is it Jacob Ramsey?
You see Chelsea doing it all the time, don't they? That's why they sold that Conor Gallagher, because he was from their own system, which meant every penny of that sale went against that SSP. Whereas I think if you buy someone and sell them, it's only the difference between, because you've bought, which obviously puts you down, and then you sell, which puts you back up. So
Yeah, exactly. Which, this would have happened for us as well. I don't know if the rules that we're talking about were in place at the time, but Roden, great example, McBurney, Dan James, like all these players would have been pure profit if it did work that way. I'm not sure those rules were there at the time though, but they're good examples, like you say. But yeah, point being, we're hemorrhaging money is the truth. We're losing tens of millions a year. We're now going to, I think by the time a striker comes in, we're going probably north of £15 million spend this summer if you include Vidal, which mental. So do they care about losing money as long as it's within those rules? Presumably not. They're probably looking at it as investment now to become sustainable later, which is somewhat risky, but then also they're looking to grow commercially. So I guess their hope is our income goes up over time.
Yeah.
And yeah, an investment in the youth I'm all for. I think I mentioned previously the number of youth academy graduates dropped down, especially the ones featured in the first team. If you look now, Cooper, Cullen, Cabango, but Cabango's going back to when Steve Cooper was there. Cooper's going back to when Russell Martin was in his first season, I think. And Cullen, maybe not long after. There hasn't really been much as there. Sam Parker.
I think Cullen was under Cooper as well.
Yeah.
I think he was just about breaking through and he got injured against Forest, actually, in a cup game.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. I would like to see more from it. There's all these players we mentioned, and there's some that have got away as well, like that Ali Al Hamadi, who we never really saw him in a Swansea shirt, but clearly it was a missed opportunity because he dropped down, but quite quickly came back up, and then he ended up playing Premier League football last season. I don't think he's not nothing special for Ipswich. Don't get me wrong, but I think in our situation of the last couple of years, don't tell me you couldn't have done a job in our team.
Oh, he could have done a job. Not that I'm saying he's a Swansea City style of striker typically, but then Potnick isn't either, is he?
No, but then we let him go on a free. And
yeah, but don't get me wrong.
It's just a missed opportunity all round.
By the way, we didn't just say there we are, go. We offered him a deal and he turned it down, and in the end, it's ended up being
but the reason he turned it down was because of his lack of opportunity. He spoke about it when he left.
Which, to be fair, he was correct when he.
And that's my issue. And when we talk about bringing this player on loan potentially from Liverpool, that's what I get worried about again. I think I always say we need good squad depth, but I do like a little bit of that to be within our youth system. I'm worried that we're not looking so much like we're going to be this season at the moment.
Yeah, weirdly, he's linked with Cardiff now and Luton. So maybe going to go top end of League One rather than the Championship.
It might be more his level, but I mean, he did play Premier League games last year, didn't he? So
yeah, I think this is the thing. I think if you stuck him in the Championship last year, he'd have found a club. I think this year some of the signings have been happening have been a bit crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Signings we've been making, Stoke, I can't remember his name. I think it may have been Silla, but he's just strikers joined who presumably is like top 6 quality, and that's Stoke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think teams are starting to be allowed to go into Europe more now with like visa rules and things, and a lot of them have got their recruitment sorted out.
This data-driven approach is starting to click on for everyone properly. I saw someone talking the other day, one of the I think it was Will Still, speaking about how Football Manager is being used as a tool for managers to actually get ideas on players, which is a bit nuts. Like, it's a bit nuts. He's just basically saying it's a database. Football Manager is already a scouting network, essentially. Like, the people who make the game, and they have a lot of scouts to put the stats in for the players. So they're not saying they sign players based on the Football Manager stats, but it gives them a good indication of areas they can look and go and scout certain players, which is crazy to think that actually translates into real life. But yeah, last thing on the youth academy situation, they basically were talking about how I think there's 2 players in the under 18s maybe before they've got professional contracts. They didn't name the names here, but they've essentially got some Premier League interest, and I think they were asked about how we're going to tie them down and stuff, and they were basically saying as a category 2, not really much you can do about it if these clubs come calling, because they can just get them. Whereas if you're category 1, they have to pay some form of compensation fee, so that's another bonus to it as well. So when you get your really top talents, if they're scouted early on, the big clubs just get the pick of the draw, and that's another reason why you kind of lose out. So a lot of perks to getting that sorted. Next question was on moving the under 18s from Fairwood to Landor. I didn't actually realise this was happening. Sorry, to Fairwood from Lando, I should say. So they were asked about what's going to happen at Lando. Now, they made a point of saying they're not looking to sell it. They've had opportunity to do so in the past, but they said it's their only bit of real estate that they actually own.
Liberty's on a lease, innit?
They don't own Fairwood then? Is that uni? So Swansea uni, like a collaboration?
Not I'm aware of. Maybe they just rent the land. I'm surprised at that because it was a new build as of like a decade ago, wasn't it?
I want to say they had some... I feel like Swansea uni's involved. I could be wrong. I'll have to go and look into that. Yeah, so I know because the council used to own the stadium, didn't they? So you're saying it's a lease now? It's not the council anymore, no.
Weren't it a lease? Just Google it quick.
There was some sort of change. I thought the previous owners did something to get it off the council, but it's not.
I thought we had I thought the American owners joined and then stuck it on like a stupidly long lease.
So they did get it, but like not necessarily outright.
Yes, 2018, Swansea City finally take full control of the Liberty Stadium. The club has concluded talks with Swansea Council and Ospreys to sign a new long-term lease agreement, which means the Swans will take sole control of the stadium management company and all other stadium matters. Ospreys will continue to play there under the new deal, which 7 years later looks like that's going to come to an end now.
Well, it is. It's ended. It's gone.
Yeah.
Have they changed any of that branding? I haven't seen. To be honest, or paid attention. But Osprey's not playing there anymore. They're going to Bridgend this year while St. Helens is being redeveloped, and then they'll be there.
Yeah.
I mean, if they survive the restructure, but that's another conversation.
Well, yeah, we'll see about that. But yeah, the article doesn't say how long the lease is, and I remember it being like, I don't know if it was 100 years or something. I swear it was stupidly long.
Well,
so yeah.
So they don't own the stadium then?
No, we have a long-term lease. Will the stadium even be there by the time the lease is over? That's what you.
If they said what Lando's going to be used for now, then if the youth teams are not there, because
the under-18s aren't, but you still got everyone from under-16s damned, haven't you?
So it's just like the even younger age grades.
Yeah, I don't know if they're based at Lando. I presume they are. Where else would they be? Yeah,
fair. I mean, I guess it integrates some more with the first team as well, being in Fairwood, which maybe helps with the opportunities. I don't know if that maybe helps with the Cat one.
No, it also doesn't hurt to have assets either. There's only so many assets a football club can own, and if they own land, then that's a good thing. Long term is security, isn't it?
On Snoop Dogg and Luka Modric, confirmed Snoop Dogg is going to be attending a game soon. Any ideas where that's going to be or when?
Oh, who knows? Could it be Wrexham? Could it be the Wrexham Welsh derby that people are going to call Ryan Reynolds Wrexham versus Snoop Dogg Swansea at the SwanCom on December 20th? I think it could be that.
You don't think he'd be here before that then?
No. I think he's a busy man, and he'll pick and choose what his first game is to make it a bigger deal, and that will be the one game to make a big deal out of this season for our home games anyway. The away games in March, so no doubt he'll end up there because Ryan Reynolds will invite him as well, and that'll be fine. Modric is a different matter because he's playing for AC Milan, right?
Yeah, I probably won't see much of him until he's retired if we see him at all. But yeah, he kind of spoke about what we already knew in regards to Modric has come in with a bit of a football knowledge, asset from a football perspective, and has been involved with the recruitment and has been a help there. We already knew those things. And Snoop Dogg has a different portfolio. He's come to raise the profile in a different way, be more commercial and grow the revenue and the sort of like the club reach, I guess. So we kind of assumed those things anyway, but it's good to kind of hear it from the club themselves that is the goal here, and everyone's kind of firing on the same hymn sheet. Last thing I've got then is question on the season tickets. So stating that obviously when this was done, which is a week ago or so now, 500 season tickets ahead of last year, and they referenced the fact that beforehand was a year-on-year decline for the last few seasons. So I guess it's good to sort of dip out at the bottom of that. Don't know how much more on top of that 500 plus we're going to be. The attendance wasn't amazing, was it, on the weekend?
It was only 15,500, and Sheffield United brought down about 1,500 by the looks of what I saw in the stadium, so it weren't good. There's no point denying that. It was glorious weather, first home game of the season, optimism in the air. I'm hoping now that we've won and played well, that will, word will get through to people. Maybe the next game against Watford more will be there. And also, if you go back, I say this a lot, but when Steve Cooper first came in, 5 wins and a draw, we sold 2,000 season tickets in August alone because everyone thought we were winning the league. So it's quite possible if we, pull off another couple of wins next couple of weeks, people may change their minds. They're still on sale. So yeah, watch this space. Hopefully we get another couple hundred late ones in through the door.
Let's hope. I mean, you've got to stop the decline somewhere. So I guess that's a little bit of good news. Hopefully, if the good momentum around the club can continue, it will keep going. But we've got to reference the cost and the cost of living, and it's not just a Swansea problem as a club. We're far from the worst, actually, but it is a lot of money for people these days, and I do understand. Like I look at going sometimes, like with my kids and stuff, and you've got to, when you price it up for the full family, it's over £100 for me individually. So it's crazy.
There's that, and I'm not saying about individual games especially because it works out worse in terms of a one-off cost, like you say. But like last season when Xi'an was on a winning streak, the stadium was felt like 17-18k in there. So like people will turn up when there's a feel-good factor and we're winning.
Yeah, but they also did a bunch of good initiatives at the end of the season, like the Kids for a Quid thing. I think more of that would be a really good thing, but I don't know whether they'll do it early in the season. But yeah, carry on.
Point being, I'm absolutely not denying cost of living and just all of that in general. And inflation last couple of years has been crazy for people, especially those who were, especially with those with kids. And now ask 100 quid, like you just said, is mental money for a one-off. But if we go top 6, people will show up. It is just a given. There are people who have money, and they choose.
Yeah, there's the ones that come with a success, isn't there?
Yeah,
you give them the certain names, but at the end of the day, you kind of need them to an extent, don't you?
Premier League, I know there was no cost of living back there, but there was wasn't there like a 2-year waiting list for a season ticket when we first went up?
It was a bit nuts, yeah, and they obviously going to expand the stadium forever, and it just didn't happen.
Well, there were plans to put it up to 28k, and that'll never happen now because they've seen what it's like when we go down. But I think we'd have to go up and sustain ourselves to even consider.
7 years was decent enough.
Yes, is a thing. It's such a risk, isn't it? Because you could finally sanction it and get it approved and all that, and then you can go down. And then you've got a 50% full stadium. If you've got we had 14k there, really. It said 15,000 something, but the empty seats from season ticket holders as well. There's probably 14k there. If I was a 28k seat stadium, there'd be no atmosphere. Half of it would be empty.
Yeah. Have I anything you want to touch on from the forum that I didn't address?
No, I think you covered all the points.
Okay, brilliant. So I'm going to pull up the predictions.
Yeah, sure. Lee has not given his prediction, so he will choose last.
Yeah, well, that's his own fault, isn't it? Should have got into there sooner.
Well, you won last year, so I'd say I have the honours, but just to summarise...
Well, we were drawing and that's why.
Yeah, keep in mind there's 2 points for a correct result, 5 for a correct score. We're currently 2-2-2 because me and Lee guessed Borough would win, and Luke guessed that Sheffield. What did you guess? Swans would win, but no correct scores.
I did draw in the Borough game.
Sorry,
I did draw in the Borough game.
Yeah, but I was just saying because Borough. Yeah. What was I gonna say? We didn't land on a forfeit yet. I know there was
there is a comment that I'll acknowledge.
There's a comment. It's whether we want to choose it or not.
I think when you suggested to the audience to sort of like suggest one, you mentioned about not wearing a Cardiff top and reasons for not doing that, which I think were fair enough reasons. And I feel like the commenter suggested something even worse.
It was do a vlog in the Cardiff City game in the first game of next season, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll read it out now. Whichever loses has to go to Cardiff first game next season, make a vlog of themselves there. Yeah, bet you guys wish you never said yes to wear, or you said yes to wearing a Cardiff shirt now. Look,
I think the vlog is
really
better
appreciate
than
the engagement. Do you? I think you're coming out of there with a black eye.
You don't have to say you're a Swans fan, Luke.
Yeah, but you're literally going to be vlogging yourself in the Cardiff Stadium. Like, something's going to slip in it.
Not really. I think
we're going to be like, I'm here to support. I'm not saying it. I'll get clipped.
I think one Swans fan has ever recognised me down the Swansea.com stadium. I don't think I'm going to go to the Cardiff game and people are going to go, oh, he's a jack. Like, just wouldn't happen, would it?
But we haven't agreed on that one yet. But if you've got any more ideas...
if you've got any other alternatives that...
doesn't have to involve Cardiff.
And also, I want to watch the Swans on the first day of next season. I don't really want to go to watch Cardiff. So,
and I also want to get back to my family just in case something does go wrong.
But yeah, next game, Watford at home. Me and Luke will do our predictions now, and Lee can join on last. I'd say I get honours because you won the point thing last year. So I'm going to go for the trusty 1-0 because that just seems to be a common. That's the 1-1 of this season so far, isn't it?
Yeah, you said you need to add in that column for the 1-1 as well.
Oh, yeah.
I was on the pre-match video with the lads from Watford, the Do Not Scratch Your Eyes lot, and I told them that we nicked their idea and they were loving it. And they've scrapped it this season.
Have they?
Yeah, they've scrapped it.
Pass the torch over to us.
So when they gave me the prediction, so if you want to add, if you're adding columns, you can add an opposition one in as well, just for the bands. But they also honoured our rule and didn't pick 1-1 when they were going to. So I think this game has got 1-1 written all over it, to be honest. But what did I say? I can't remember what I said. I think you've picked 1-0, and I think I said 1-0. I'll go to 2-1 Swansea.
And Lee remains to be seen, but he'll probably go 2-0, would be my guess, because I think we're all after Sheffield United, we're all confident, aren't we?
Yeah, I think Watford are looking okay, mind. So I am a bit. I don't know. I think they look a lot better than they have in recent years. They've put a bit of investment in. They've got a lot of youth and quite quick and nippy players in there. And apparently they do a really good high press. The manager they brought in is like Bielsa reincarnated.
Oh, okay, it'll be a good game then. It's mental though how one good result and performance all of a sudden makes the next 3 games all look winnable though, innit? Like Sheffield Wednesday especially, obviously, but Watford and Hull are at home. Like you got whether we'll get 9 points. I'm not saying we'll get 9 points. We've got to aim for that. Look at those next 3 games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Birmingham and
Especially
Millwall
when a serious season as well. I think the potential is there. Get a good start now, and it builds a good foundation going forward. And I think there's opportunity this year to be up competing, somewhere decent. So we just needed to grab that by the scruff of the neck. Before I let you go, Ben, I got a quick challenge for you. I was hoping Lee would be here to kind of fight you against each other, but he isn't, so we're going to have to make do. So I'll have a bit more planning and preparedness in future, but I do want to do more of these sort of things, a little bit funny, and probably clip it up for the socials. And again, the lads I was on with last night, really good ideas. Did a game of Tenable with them, where they essentially got us to, it was me and Justin, and we had to guess the highest amount of percent filled stadiums from a championship last year. I absolutely smashed him. Just saying, I think I got 7 out of 10, and he got 1. So yeah, just putting that out there. So those sort of things are quite cool. But I'm not going to. I haven't put all the production into that, but I do want to ask you, and you can have 3 wrong guesses until you lost. But I want you to name players that have played for both Watford and Swansea. As many as you can. On the spot. And do you know what? There's the data that I've got here. I don't know how far this site stretches back, but based on what I've got in front of me, there's less than what I thought there would be. But I think Watford spend a lot of time in the lower leagues before they. Well,
am I too young for this? Because I feel like if there was some, Danny Graham is the one obvious one.
There's definitely a good few that you should be able to name you.
Well, Danny Graham's the obvious one.
Danny Graham is one. Well done.
I'm gonna guess Routledge just because he had 12 clubs.
Routledge is your first incorrect.
Oh, see that was an educated guess though.
I'm just gonna fact check that, but he was not on the list.
Norton?
Yeah, he didn't.
No,
Kyle Norton. No. That's 2 incorrect. Oh, Ben, you're not doing very well here.
Well, can you blame me? I feel like most of these are going to be from when I was 4.
No, they're really not. They're really not. You'd be surprised when I read some out now. One more guess. Well, one more wrong guess and you're out.
Yeah, it's how long do I want this podcast to go on?
Some of them have been with us in the Championship since we got relegated from the Premier League. There's a clue.
It is proper on the spot, isn't it? I feel like it's going to be a lot more entertaining for people watching on YouTube.
I mean, if you're playing along at home, chuck it in the comments, isn't it? Who you think of before I reveal the list. Put some comments in of players that you can remember that have played for both clubs for our opposition.
In the Championship since we got relegated.
Yeah, there is literally 3. 3 players that are playing, three players that have played for both of us and Watford since we got relegated.
My issue is,
one of them wasn't Watford since, but before us was Watford.
My issue is, I'm thinking about transfers directly between the two clubs, and the chances are they played for other people in between. Like,
there's 2 there that played for us in the Premier League, and then there's 1 that played for us before we went up. So you should remember all of those names. 2 that played for us before we went up. Sorry. So there's a few on there that I understand if you don't get, but when I read some of these out, you're going to be like,
I am going to be annoyed, but also, like, I think during our time in the Premier League, we had like 70-something people play for us. So, like, you got to leave me off a bit, haven't you?
Right, chuck a name out there. Go on.
De Vries.
Not De Vries. Right. You ready?
Yeah.
Craig Beattie.
I wouldn't have got that.
George Byers.
He played for Watford?
Yeah, we got him from Watford.
That don't count. Did he ever play for them? There we are. Got you there.
It's on the list.
Okay, then. But then Aymar Gavea. Oh, there you are. Jordi Gavea. There we are. We had a player who played for Real Madrid and Swans. He didn't play for either, did he?
He made one appearance for Watford. George Byers did. So
fair enough.
Jack Cork.
Cork, is it? Oh.
Yeah, Jack Cork.
I was thinking Cork, but I thought, you went Burnley, but it must have been before Watford.
It was before. Jack Cork was 2008, so probably early loan in his playing days. Scott Fitzgerald. Probably wouldn't have expected you to get that one. Danny Graham, of course. Ben Hamer.
Oh, I should have got Ben Hamer. I remember him going there. Yeah.
Yeah. Des Little. I wouldn't have expected to get that one. Played for Swansea before either of us were born, actually. Josh McEachran. He went to Watford after us.
That's going back some years. That's the first season in the Prem we had him on loan, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he played against us last year in the Championship for Oxford. So, Tamas Priskin.
Don't know.
No, we got him on loan in our promotion season, but he only played 4 games for us before he got injured.
So basically what you're saying is I should be remembering somebody who played 4 games for the Swans when I was 10.
It was a big deal when he signed because he was decently regarded in the league. But yeah. Di Thomas, again, another one I wouldn't expect you to get. And then this one, I'm surprised you didn't get, Ben Wilmot.
I really should have got Ben Wilmot. That was a direct loan, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, decent effort. I think other clubs will have a little bit more going on with that sort of question. But like I said, it was a bit of a small list. I was a bit surprised. But I think it's because Watford had quite a lot of their time earlier in the years, a bit lower than the leagues. But anyway, I think that's everything for today. So, decent.
Yeah, that's been a good pod. We've actually, but not 2 hours either. I think 1 hour, 20 minutes coming up is a good compromise.
I think we got a lot in there for the fans forum, which you're not going to have every week.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
hopefully next pod we have Stamenic confirmed. Yeah, we got Stamenic confirmed and a striker not far off confirmed next time we speak and meet. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully there'll be a couple of signings in there, and I think there's another. Based on the schedule, there's obviously Watford and then Plymouth is midweek before another weekend game. So maybe another 3 games to discuss next time. We'll have to see when we're able to schedule a podcast in. But thanks for joining me, Ben. As always, leave your comments down below about everything we discussed today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, follow us on all the podcasting platforms, leave a like, rating, all the rest of it. And we shall see you in the next one.
In a bit.